to another episode of Unlocking Her Code podcast. Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation through powerful stories and empowering conversations. My name is Lourdes, and I'm here with TV. Hi, TV.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing really, really good.
How exciting. Have you been watching how it's all going, and we've not even been on for a week, and just watching people listening to our podcast? How amazing is that?
Yeah, I've been watching it and I'm amazed. We have a couple cities out of Salinas and just seeing how there's so many people that are starting to tune in. So I'm super, super excited about that.
I know.
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful as well. So if you are a listener who is sharing our podcast, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following us. Continue to share it with your friends, with your family, that we are super grateful for your support.
Yes. And I've gotten, I'm sure you did too, but I've gotten some messages from people that have heard it. And I was I've been in tears every time someone's sending me a message of what, how they felt and how it impacted them. And then, they're just it's not only because it's you that I'm listening to, but just what you're saying. And, just today I got another message, just people saying how thankful they are for just the honesty and the rawness. And they're just thank you for sharing that, for being strong enough to put yourself out there, and for you guys just doing this. This is awesome. So I'm I was all crying. I'm thanks. So thank you guys. It's amazing. If you guys, anything that you guys feel we do have our Instagram. You guys can reach out to us, and can find it on Unlocking Her Code podcast on Instagram, and send us messages and let us know. We love to hear the feedback. We're so new to this, but we have so much passion behind it. So we, obviously we would love to get it right and get it perfect. But I know that we're going to get there because we have, because of the passion that we have behind it. So, but it's been so exciting, so touching. And so we're very grateful for that.
Yes, agree. Thank you to all of our listeners. And today's episode is going to be interesting. It's a very, very powerful topic. And before we open, I know you had a quote that you wanted to share to open.
Yes, because this episode we've always discussed, and it's definitely our journey, what you and I have gone through, what we've dealt with together. And so not knocking on anybody, absolutely, and hopefully nobody takes it in the wrong way. That's not what we want to do. But the name of this episode is Healing the Inner Bitch, the Inner Boss Bitch. Oh, the inner bitch. Sometimes she doesn't need to be healed. She just needs to be.
Yes.
We can't heal her all the time, but it's healing the inner boss bitch mentality. That mentality that we love her, we thank her for what she did for us and how she protected us when we needed her, but just how to heal her, right? And so this quote was I feel it's perfect for this. The quote is, "The strongest women are those who can shed their armor and still stand strong."
Wow.
Yep. So I can't wait to get into it, because I just still feel that sometimes that part of it, that part's always going to stay with us. It's a part of us, right? We're not trying to remove her. We're not trying to get rid of her or delete her or anything like that. So at some point, once in a while, she'll probably still kind of throw her sense in there, and it's, it's fine. So I still feel even for me, we can always heal that part. And so I was so excited. I'm I'm going to ask you so many questions. I'll be what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So
yeah, definitely a fun topic. Even before coming on, once we decided what the topic was going to be for this episode, I journaled to her, to that part of me, because I wanted to make sure that I was honoring her in the best way possible as I brought that part out of me, right? Because to do this podcast, to do this episode, we do have to let her come in almost like invite her into our episode as well, right? So it's like with the most honor and with the most compassion to be able to tap in to that energy that still very much lives within me and you. But now we can really go into this topic from a total different point of view, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel like I have all these questions that I'm like, and why did I feel this? And TV, what do you think of this? So let's talk about like, what is it? When we talk about the boss bitch mentality, what does it look like? What is it? Like, what would you say? What is it? What does it stand for when you see it now? Not what does it stand for, but what does it look like at this point? And I think for me, definitely when I was in that state, it was really like, I don't need anyone, but like, I don't need anything from anyone. I can just get it myself, or I don't need, like I can work. And I feel like when I was in that mentality, I used to say things like, or like hyper independency, right? Like super hyper independent. Like, oh, I don't need absolutely nobody from anything. It's just me against the world. Or even like going as far as like telling our children, like it's us against the world, like things like that. And just kind of like isolating yourself from everybody because you felt like you were, I felt like it was me against the world, at some point. Cause I felt like everything was on me. Like I had to figure out how to always get us through with everything. And so then it kind of, I don't know, do you think it's like a bitterness that takes us there because we feel that we're so alone?
I think that is definitely an energy that roots from somewhere, right? That is born at some point in our life. And I think that if we were to ask ourselves that question of where was this born? Where does it take us?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that's one part to look at. Like, where was it born? Because we weren't born with it. Yeah. Right? We weren't born with that hyper independence mentality. Something along our journey, an experience, a person, something happened that took us there. For me specifically, when I look back in my own specific journey, a little bit about me, I am a teen mom. I had my daughter at 17 and a half. So when I look back on my journey, I got married at 18. Like, that's crazy, I got divorced at 20, I believe, at 20 years old. So I was asking myself and reflecting, when was this mentality born for me? And I can pinpoint exactly the chapter in my life when this was born. The hyper independence was after my divorce, after I was no longer with the father of my daughter. Because, at that point, it was me and her, right? Me and her alone. And not only that, but I had came out of like a really terrible relationship. So then it all kind of came together, right? It all took me to that place. Like, okay, now I'm on my own. Now I got to figure it out. And because of the relationship that I had came out of, what I noticed, and it's something I journaled on, is that when I went through that relationship, my subconscious recorded a belief, right? And that belief was that I don't need a man. And now that I look back at that, I'm like, it's not that I didn't need a man. It's that I didn't need the type of man that I was with, and I didn't need the relationship that I was in. Not necessarily that I didn't need a man, but that's the mentality I adopted because I didn't know any better, and I was young and didn't have the tools to obviously reflect and look back at it. And I feel that for me, the hyper independence began, the boss bitch mentality definitely began right after my divorce. The hyper independence goes even deeper than that. that comes from my childhood, directly from there. I'm the oldest daughter. I raised 5 siblings. So the hyper independence comes from me being, the oldest daughter. Definitely comes from childhood, and then the boss bitch mentality after the divorce. That's where when I reflected, that's where it began for me.
Like that's where it was planted, the seed, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see that because I feel like some point in our lives when we're like, I think for me it would be maybe in that time. I think as a teenager I felt alone all the time. As a child I felt alone. I don't know what it was. I was always, when I was a kid, I felt like I was always searching for like to be included in something in some way somehow. And I never found that for some weird reason, right? And my parents were always working, and then when they would leave, and that's probably where it started, where now that I'm talking about it, right? Like they would leave early, and so my sisters and we had to like figure out what time, how to get up and like get going and go and just get ready. At least this is what I remember, right? This is what I recall. And so then coming home and kind of having to figure out like how to deal with whatever I needed to deal with, and so that's, and just feeling that sense of like, okay, it's just you, but always wanting to be a part of something, and I guess not feeling included or feeling alone all the time, and so I think it comes from there. And then same thing, I feel it's probably started right after my divorce, and then it was just my son and I, and then I felt like I already carried this, like I'm alone, I'm alone, feeling like it's already there implanted with me. And so then it's like just my son and I, granted I had a lot of help, like, his dad and his grandparents, they were always around. So when it comes to my child, he never needed anything, but I felt like it was me, I needed so much. And so, and then I went on, and I probably didn't look for it in the right places because I was always trying to find that I just wanted to be included into something that was solid, And so then, and that's where it came to me. And then like where I found it, and it's like, okay, then it has to be in your career, and it has to be like in money. And then, and still till I feel like I still had it, and then I got into a relationship with my husband now, and then I still feel that I felt that boss bitch mentality for a long time, even after being with him, and then having my home and everything, and I feel like it just kind of heightened, and it affected even like my relationship with him, like where I would tell him, and I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like on our wedding, like part of my vows were like I always had a plan B. And I would always tell people like, oh, hell no, girl, you need to have a plan B. Like, make sure that your plan B, like, you can always take care of yourself, support yourself. Like, it's always you. Like, and it's great to have that, to know that you can take care of yourself, obviously, right? I mean, financially, whatever. But, like, to be so proud of that, to be, like, out there being proud and, like, kind of, like, throwing it in my husband's face, like, I don't fucking need you. Like, you kidding me? You know what I mean? I could do shit on my own. I could take my own kids, like, don't worry about, like, I feel bad for you. Like, you're going to fucking need me, like kind of shit like that, like, so those are the type of like, and I like, see, even saying it right now, I feel like she wants to come out and be unleashed and be like, yeah.
Yeah,
like, girl,
she's present.
She's there, she's like, yeah, that's what we were. But it's like, I'm not, it's different, but it's also exhausting.
Very, very much. And that's the second question, right? Like, how has that looked like in our journey? How has that, what did the walls of this boss bitch, hyper independent mentality look like? What was our behavior around that? How did it show up in our day to day?
Yeah.
As a mother, as a wife, in general, in our careers? Where did it lead to at the end, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that this energy of the boss bitch mentality and the hyper independent has its own walls. For me, for example, my own walls were they were around my heart. Definitely, for sure. Big walls that no one can even get near those walls. So as I got to know this energy of myself, one of them, like I said, were the walls that were very high. Another thing was the behavior was, like you said, a very just demanding with with my partner, very controlling, very like, yes, I have you, but I don't need you. You know, I make my own money. I have my own career. As a mother, it looked like me trying to kind of pass this message on to my daughters.
Yeah.
I did notice that when I was in that chapter of my life, I used to tell my daughters, like, you know, have your own money, and I don't need nothing from anybody else. And, you know, it all stemmed from here. And in career, forget it. In the career area, it was, I had to be at the top. And I would do anything to be at the top and to have a title and to be the breadwinner as well, because that gave me a sense of safety.
Yeah.
Right. And this is all a program, all of it. The hyper independence is actually a program that we're under. So all these little things are just things within the program that I experienced. I experienced very, very deep emotions, very hard, difficult moments because of being in this mentality. Obviously, now I honor her because I understand that this definitely was born out of survival.
Oh, for sure.
Like
it was born out of survival. Like we needed it at that time. Like we needed to be there because that's the only way we were going to get through, you know? And so then, like going back to like, how do you feel that it affects, and we'll start one by one, right? But like, how do you feel like that? Because I kind of see now that I understand like the feminine energy, and now that I understand the masculine energy, which is so amazing to understand them both, and how we carry one more than the other at times, and how one can overpower the other one if we don't really like embrace them both, or embrace our feminine energy, which I feel like women right now are super in the masculine energy and have like forgotten how to like take care of the feminine energy. And then for me it came out to be like exhausting. Like I remember telling my husband, I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. Like I don't want to be the breadwinner anymore. I don't want to have that is exhausting for me. Like I don't want to be the mom and the wife, and then I still have to like be the person who has this fucking career, and I'm like having to worry about whether like, oh, if I don't make my bonuses, or if I don't, you know, this, like I don't want to do that anymore, like, you know. And so then I feel like I sort of just threw it back on him and said, you deal with it now, like it's on you. And like, don't get me wrong, like he is an intense hard worker, and he will always work hard for us, and he's always been, right? So I thank him very much for giving me the space for me to grow and evolve as a different person, and for him to say like, okay, like in this world it does take it's almost like we need two people to work, but I mean, if you know, he just told me, if you believe in it, then I'll just back you up, right? So anyways, so I thank him for that, but it was exhausting. I was like, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. Like I cannot be the person that can not only that, but wants to make all the decisions and constantly like butting heads with him because he wants to, you know, be the more logical one, and I'm the more emotional one, and then I'm constantly butting, and a lot of the times his decisions make a lot of damn sense, and I'm coming from more of an emotional side, so it's a lot of that. But letting go of that ego, that pride that we carry with this boss bitch mentality, like, you're not gonna tell me what to do, I don't need you, and you know. But how do you feel that what do you think this does to the husband or the spouse or the partner or whoever, like if whoever you're with, when you're in this like boss bitch mentality, what is it doing to your relationship?
This is such a powerful question because I lived it myself, like raw, like like a movie. I lived it myself. It tears your relationship down. it might not look like in the physical, right? Because if your partner loves you and you love them, in the physical, it just might seem like, oh, everything's fine. But in the inner parts of your partner, in the inner parts of us, something is very, very disbalanced. What I noticed in my own relationship when I was in this mentality is that you almost emasculate the male. You take that from them because you're in your masculine. Now imagine the woman being in her masculine and the male in the masculine. You strike that from him, right? So it's like it's almost like, who am I now? Right? The male.
What am I for?
What am I for? What am I needed for? What's my role in this relationship? It leaves the male very confused because he no longer knows what his role is. Because imagine if he came in the relationship as a provider, as a man should show up, right? A provider, emotionally available for you. And it checked all the boxes, right? And you come in and stripe that from him. Well, it even leaves him confused as, well, who am I even in this relationship, you know? So I definitely believe that you also bump a lot of heads because it's like the masculine and a masculine in a war for power.
Yeah.
So it's, imagine how household, how the energy of the relationship, two men at war for power. When it's very hard. It's very, very, it creates a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges in the relationship. And sometimes you can think, in the physical, you could think, oh, well, he doesn't understand me, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that, and blah, 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 blah. We just point fingers out. But in reality, if we looked within, we would see that we are trying to take on a role that is not ours to play. And that's what I was able to notice, like from my own relationship. When I started becoming conscious of this, I was like, wow, it's been year. I mean, I don't think I've ever been fully in my feminine energy, right? And discovering this can be one for me. When I noticed that, I felt a lot of pain because I was questioning myself, like, how did I get here? What happened? So it's just like going down that road of like, what happened to me? Where is this coming from? So that I can really see the truth of what was playing in front of me. And I truly, truly believe that my hyper independence made me a strong woman at that time. But inside, I was screaming for help.
Yeah.
Right? But I couldn't stop fighting for power with my partner.
No.
Because I truly believe. And
not only that, but
it helped me.
We don't ask for help.
No.
Like,
no.
What help? I don't need help.
No.
I don't need anybody. I got it all myself. Like, I could do it all myself. You know?
Yeah. And that, because think about it. The hyper independent woman is in her masculine.
She's in her masculine.
Why would she need help?
Yeah.
She's got it. If for me, it showed up as like, I didn't honor men, right? I was extremely like reactive, controlling. I was emotionally shut down. I was like on this energy of doing and doing and doing. I could never stop. I could never rest. I could never accept help. I had this mentality of, I make my own money. I depended on my titles or jobs to make me feel worthy or secure. And but what was scary during this time is that I created a very lonely world for myself. Yeah. And I was resentful of the way I had created this almost inner hell for myself. Yeah. Right? There was a lot of the pain that I felt, and now that I look back at it, was self developed pain. Like, I was the one that created that pain for myself. It wasn't coming from anybody else. I kept doing that.
But isn't it so easy to like blame the world at that point?
Very.
Right? It's like, it's everyone's fault. It was his fault. He doesn't do this for me. It was like, it's, my friends aren't there for me. No one's there for me. But we're out there literally posting, screaming, it's me against the world. Or it's me and my kids against the world. Like, how lonely is that? I remember when we were talking about this and I said that, and then I wrote it down and I said, we do say that. We did like those words, like, oh, it's just us against, or telling our children, it's just us against the world, you know, it's just me and you against the world. And it's like, what are we doing at that point? We're literally like, just like secluding ourselves from everyone else, and then passing that message on to our kids that they're alone in this shit too. That they have nobody else but themselves and me or us, and then that's it. And you know, and then we become like more resentful and like more angry. And I feel like, yeah, we do self-inflict that pain on ourselves when we're in that, because it's not ours to be in.
Yeah, and like you said right now, the point that you made right now, that we blame the world, right? If you go even deeper than that, it's the masculine represents looking at the world out, right? The feminine represents looking within. So when you're in your masculine, you could only see out. You won't look within because you're in the masculine energy. So it's why you're looking for someone to blame, because you're in your masculine. The masculine energy looks out and the feminine looks in.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways you can know whether you're in your masculine and your feminine is, how am I looking at the world? Am I looking at the world out or in? That's one of the points. And it's why when you said that we're looking for someone to blame, that's a key point.
Yeah. And that fuels us, you know, being able to tell everyone, like, you know, it's just me. And then when you mention like in that time, you're just kind of trying to load as much as you can. It's almost like it fuels your anger. It's just you're fueling yourself with more, and then you're like, I'm so busy. Now I do this and now I do that, and I work, and I'm a part of this, and now like me, I was like a part of the board, and then I was working full time, and then at some point I even loaded on like school, and I was doing like freaking school, and then it was like oh, I'm so proud of myself, but I'm so angry because like everything that I could do, and I just like, it's just me, and you know, I'm like, and I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, I can't do all this shit. What the hell? Who am I trying to prove to this? To what? To who? You know, that I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah,
and that we can do it. We can do it. That doesn't mean anything. But what am I doing to myself at the end of the day? I'm fucking exhausted. There's nothing left of me anymore. I'm not even 100% a mom. I can't even give my kids a piece of me because there's nothing left to give. I can't even be a present wife because there's nothing left to give. You know, a friend, there's nothing. I'm just angry and bitter and just, you know.
Yeah. And what's even more interesting from that is that in what I learned in myself, because I was exactly the same way, doing, involved in all these type of projects. Once I began my journey and I made room to really reflect on myself, I was doing these things to avoid feeling, to avoid being in my feminine energy. If I kept myself busy, I kept myself in the masculine. If I stopped for a second, right, then that meant I had to sit with myself. I had to feel. I had to rest. I had to slow down.
Oh, there's no such thing as rest.
No. And those are feminine traits, right?
Yeah.
So when we even started tapping into any type of feminine trait, like not being busy, for example, I felt weird being at home and I have nothing to do. Like I would go crazy. That's because I was tapping into the feminine energy and I didn't know what to do with that, right? So I feel, for me, that was one of the biggest ways that I began my journey. It was during COVID when everything slowed down and I was forced to be home.
Yeah.
That's when I was forced to be with myself.
Yep.
I was forced to feel, to be present, and I was going crazy. I didn't know like how to do that, right? So now that I see it from this point of view, is that why I was afraid of my own feminine energy. I was afraid of feeling. I was afraid of my intuition. I was afraid of all that came with the feminine energy.
Because you have to feel. You have to go through the emotions, and that's that. And when you're in a masculine energy, you don't deal with that shit. That type of stuff is nope, non-existent. Not for me. Absolutely not. You know. How do you think what do you think that this does to our kids when we're just in this energy?
Well, our children learn from watching us perform or watching us how we act out on a day-to-day. So if they see a strong, hyper independent woman, then my daughter's just going to follow the same steps. Most of them. There's kids that don't. There's kids that actually will reflect the opposite. And because that's a gift, that your child's giving you a gift to reflect the opposite so that you can see what's truly within you, right? But it affects our children tremendously because they see a mother that's constantly on the go. They see a mother that doesn't honor rest. They see a mother that is constantly involved in things, not resting, just on this mentality of go, go, go. So they start believing that this is the way a woman should show up in the world, right? And if it's left unresolved, right, then 10, 15 years later from that daughter or son will start acting in certain similar ways as we ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is one of the things that I started to realize, that now that I've slowed way down, I can genuinely spend time with my children, listening to them, talking to them. And every day I watch them and every time I talk to them, I'm so in love with them, like more and more, because I'm getting to know them on a more like intimate level, where I'm like mom and son or mom and daughters, and it's like just us, you know, and we get to talk and we get to share stories, and I'm watching them and I'm like just watching them become a different, you know, I'm like dang, why didn't I pay attention to you guys more often like this? Like I missed so many like times where I could have just sat there and really focused on you guys, and I'm doing it now, and I'm like, you guys are amazing. Like, you guys are so cool to hang out with, you know. Like I love hanging out with my kids. I love sitting on the table and chatting with them, and like they're just amazing people. And I think about it and I'm like, man, I would really hate if I missed out on this shit, you know? Like if I missed out on this, like imagine if I would have just stayed in that, I would not be seeing this, because I would be so like caught up in my own feel of whatever all that was, that I don't think I would be seeing that, you know? So I'm so grateful that I could see them and like really see them now for who they are. And my kids are just loving it. I mean, I think like we definitely bond more. It's just a different feeling now, you know, with that we just grew together. And so for my kids, I the same thing too. I like my girls, I would say the same thing. I'd be like, we don't need men. We don't need like fuck man. You don't need them. You can do it all yourself. So I feel like for a while they started saying that. I think the little one is still kind of in that. I need to snap that out of her. I think she's still very like, no, Dad, I don't need you, and no, Dad, I don't need your help. You know, like, and Nando's always like, I just want to help her, and I'm like, I know, I did that to her. I messed that one up. I need to like, you know. But the other one, Mia, she's more like she's like, it's okay, you know, like she understands. But I don't want my child to be like that, you know. I don't want them to think that or my girls to think like, I don't need no man. And it's like, it's not about that, you know. It's being able to be vulnerable, to and show that you're vulnerable, show that we do need help, you know what I mean? Women are known to be more on the emotional side. Men are known to be more in logic, you know, like let's come together and let's use them both, because I can't always do that. And then not only that, but another thing that you mentioned that I just remembered right now, when I asked you, like, what do you think it does to the man or to the men in the relationship when the female is always in the masculine energy? You said if they're checking all these boxes, right? If the men check all the boxes, like they're providers, they're there to listen to you. And okay, so if they're not, if they're emotionally damaged or emotionally burdened or have baggage, right? Like we all do, right? And they don't know how to they don't even know how to deal with their emotions themselves. Or they've secluded that, or they've hidden them. They just don't. Then here comes a woman who's like, and I'm going to take over the masculine energy. So they don't even know how to I feel like they just got ran over by a train.
Yeah, because if they already felt, well, I'm not worthy of this relation, I'm worthless in this relationship, you just kick them even deeper.
Yeah.
Because now they feel, if they already felt worthless, they're going to feel that even more intense. If they already felt like their existence doesn't matter in this house, now with you continuing that behavior, you keep validating it every day, right? So definitely I feel like a lot of confusion happens for the masculine when we are in the masculine energy. I definitely seen that in my husband when I was in that mentality, that he was confused, that he didn't know what role to play. If he moved to the right, I was like, don't move to the right. If he moved to the left, don't move to the left. Why? Because my walls were too high, right? So I couldn't give him the space to be who he was meant to be in the relationship. Thankfully, I'm so grateful that he did give me the space to learn through this. It's almost like, all right, he said, I'm going to step out of the way and I'm going to let you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I'm just going to step out. And life has a beautiful way of showing you that where your place should be.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful how that has happened for me, because he was able to just give me the space that I needed to learn through my own experiences and come back crawling saying, I am so sorry. I've had this conversation with him.
Yeah.
We, a couple of months ago, maybe about at the beginning of the year, I would say, we both took a class together online. And the class was about the feminine and the masculine energy. We took a course with one of the people that I love, that I follow, and we took it online together. So once a weekend, we would watch the next, episode. And after the episode, we would talk about it. And it was directed towards the female, like coming back to her, feminine, and towards the masculine, going back to the masculine. And that's when I had those conversations, and I was like, I see it now. Like, I understand, right? But I couldn't before. I couldn't see it. I was too afraid. Yeah. I was too afraid of being vulnerable and allowing him in to my life. I mean, I've been married. I've been with him 15 years, right? And probably 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, he told me, you finally let me in.
Yeah.
He felt when I made the shift of allowing him into my life, of allowing him to be the masculine, and me putting my weapons down, right? Yeah. And it hasn't been easy, and it's not an easy journey for anybody to embark, but it's very rewarding, not just for you, because for you, it will change your life, right? But for your relationship, for your children, for every relationship that you're in, it will be life-changing in every single area of your life. Yeah. It's beautiful when you're able to just make that leap and then really look at within why this is happening and take the action that you need to take to go back, to heal and to go back home to the feminine energy. Yeah.
I know. I love that. I think when you started talking to me about the feminine energy, and I started reflecting, because this really, when it comes to healing or inner healing and transformation, it's all about reflecting, right? It's not about who did what to you. It's not about who's saying what, who triggers you. No, it's about coming back to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling what? Let's figure out why. Or I just did this. Let me figure out why, right? So it has nothing to do with anything or anyone around me. It's just me. And I was just starting to say damn, everything she just said, I do. I'm too much into my masculine energy. And so then you gave me a book, and I started reading that book, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's hard to explain what it actually, how it actually like helped me see. It's just when you understand the feminine energy, you're just like, dang, I lack all this. Like, yes, you're allowed to cry. You're allowed to feel your emotions. You're allowed to talk about them. You are allowed to feel sensual and sexual, and that's what you're supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to be a female. You're supposed to allow others to help you. Like, you know, you can't make these, like, again, we make decisions out of emotions. You know, men do it out of logic. You know, we sometimes, most of the times, their decision is they've thought of every logical thing that we don't think about. We're just like, boom, impulse. Me, big time logic. I mean, big time emotion. Mm-hmm. I seen all that now, you know, and I was just like, dang, like, man, God, I've ignored that part of me, like, for years already, for years. And so, and I'm still, and I'm going back again to reread the book. I have it in my bag. I would love to share the title, but
maybe we can in the story.
Yeah, I'll share a picture of it so you guys can see what it is. But it's just so beautiful to honor that, and to be able to say, like, you know, if you don't know exactly what the feminine energy is, I mean, is there something that you can share right now that you can, like, if people are like, well, what is it? I don't know. You know, because a lot of people don't even understand that there's two sides of it, you know, and that there's one that's actually overpowering the other one, which makes us be in this like hyper independent place in our lives. And not to say that it doesn't, not to tell anyone like, oh, get out of it or don't stay. It's just like, how does it affect you if you don't reflect, and how does it affect you if you don't do the work yourself? I embrace her when I was there. I thank her so much for helping me through what I needed to go through, because I needed her at the moment. I probably stayed there for a little bit too long, if you ask me, you know, and it did affect my relationship for a while, and I'm now learning. And so, but learning about the feminine energy versus the masculine, I feel like every single female should learn about that.
Yes, I definitely agree, because it's a huge part of our journeys. It's a huge part of who we are, right? And the feminine energy is energy. Mm-hmm. Energy, life force that lives within us, right? And we all carry both masculine and feminine. And when one or the other is unbalanced, or when we honor just the masculine or just the feminine, then we are leaving parts of ourselves that are meant to be integrated within us, aside. And imagine the impact that can have, like, in your whole life, right? So I feel like we are going to have a part 2 of this, and we can go a little bit deeper on the feminine energy and how to heal,
like, how to heal from it.
How to heal from it.
Yeah, because we can talk. Divya and I, we sit here and we talk about this. Yeah. Oh my God, and it's like deep, but we definitely want to talk about how to start seeing it. What is it? And then we can mention that too. So we want you guys all to know what it is, what to look for, what signs to look for, to know whether you're not balancing this and you're more on one than the other, and like really self-reflect on that. You know, stop. Don't immediately say, well, it's because I have to, because my husband doesn't do this, or I have to because my boss doesn't, or my job doesn't, or my kids. You know, no, it's going back to you again. And just knowing what it is and being able to heal from it, because it's going to get exhausting. It got exhausting, and it's damaging, you know? So
yeah, it's painful. It's super, super painful to stay there longer than we need. Mm-hmm. A lot, even like my clients that I coach, that's a big part of why the pain is coming, is us suppressing the feminine energy. A lot of the times it's coming from there, because we're in the masculine, we're in pain. Yeah, we're in pain because we want to go back home, which is our true nature of being balanced in both areas, the
Yeah.
feminine and the masculine. But I feel like it's been great start
Yeah.
of this episode. We definitely are going to have a second part where we'll continue to dive deep into the areas of how to heal, how to even embark the journey of healing the hyper independence, and so I stay tuned for part 2 for sure.
Yep. Yes, guys. Just wait out for that one. And thank you guys for listening to us. If you guys are still on, we appreciate it so much. Please share this with anybody that you know who you think needs it, or even if you don't think they need it. But we are hoping that it can always, at least a piece of it, a word, anything that can actually unlock a code and then say, like, raise awareness, and you can feel something, learn something, even lead you to transformation. That's all we want from this. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.